Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling what our source provocatively calls the elephants in the room.
Hmm.
You know, those huge, complex challenges are, well, crowded world faces, some natural, some maybe of our own making.
Right. Yeah.
And a massive one, obviously, is artificial intelligence. Our source really digs into the concerns like claims that AI might be worthless or even detrimental because of hallucinations.
Which is a real problem for regulation, isn't it?
Definitely. But, the source ultimately holds on to this hope, this idea that human reasoning will sort of win out in the end.
That's encouraging.
So, yeah, we're diving into this really fascinating perspective on navigating the future with AI, automation, all of it. The sources you've provided, they give a pretty comprehensive look, touching on everything from economic tweaks to, well, deep societal value shifts.
It really is striking. You see how the discussion kicks off with something pretty familiar, like universal basic income, UBI.
Right, everyone's talking about UBI.
Exactly. But then it just explodes outwards into this much bigger integrated vision for, well, a sustainable and equitable future.
Okay.
So we'll be pulling out the key ideas on, job market changes, potential economic reforms, even some fundamental shifts in how we might live and govern ourselves.
Okay, let's jump in. Confronting these huge changes AI is bringing, economic security is like front and center, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And our source goes right into universal basic income, UBI. It's often talked about, in the context of this potential AI apocalypse.
Right.
But interestingly, it doesn't just stop there. It immediately says maybe UBI isn't the only answer. It's just one part of something bigger.
Precisely. And the source makes a strong case specifically for a minimal universal basic income. The minimal part is key here.
Why minimal? What's the thinking there?
Well, it's presented less as just welfare and more as a strategic tool. The core idea seems to be activating human potential, turning that whole AI apocalypse narrative from just job loss into maybe an opportunity for like reskilling new businesses.
So redefining value beyond just a traditional job.
Exactly. The reasoning has a few layers. First, this minimal floor acts as a safety net with all the automation happening, addressing potential unemployment and inequality.
Makes sense.
Second, by keeping it minimal, the aim is to avoid creating long-term dependency. It nudges people to still seek other income, maybe start something new.
So it encourages innovation, maybe?
That's the idea. And third, it supports people during transitions, learning new skills, adapting to the changing job market. It's about lifelong learning.
Okay.
And then there's a practical point. A minimal UBI could potentially streamline a lot of existing welfare programs.
So consolidating things could be more efficient, maybe less red tape.
Could be, yeah. But the source is careful to say this is just one perspective, lots of economic, social, ethical things to consider, and it would need, real analysis for different places.
Okay, so that minimal UBI, it sounds like a sort of practical first step, an economic floor, like you said. But even with that safety net, people need purpose, right?
Cool.
Contribution.
That's a huge point, yes.
Does the source get into how people keep that sense of engagement if, traditional jobs shrink or just change completely because of AI?
It absolutely does. It's not
Yeah.
just about the money. It's about, well, dignity, participation, being part of something.
Right.
And that's where the source brings in job sharing, not just as an economic fix, but as a way to keep that human connection to, doing something productive.
So instead of just income, it's about rethinking work itself.
Exactly. The argument shifts. Job sharing is framed as a way to cut unemployment, boost social inclusion, give opportunities to people who are maybe underemployed.
Fostering that sense of purpose you mentioned.
Precisely. And it tackles the distribution of work. If automation takes over some tasks, maybe we share the remaining human work more evenly. Fewer hours per person, less inequality.
Interesting.
Plus, there are potential health benefits, right?
Yeah.
Less overwork, especially in demanding jobs, and maybe encourages more physical activity if more people are engaged.
Okay.
And, crucially, it addresses keeping human skills relevant. Even with super efficient AI, things like judgment, creativity, empathy,
Yeah.
they're still vital.
We still need people.
We do.
Yeah.
Job sharing lets people keep using and developing those unique skills. It's about balancing tech with human expertise. And of course, flexibility balancing personal life, caregiving, education.
Sure.
But again, the source is clear. Job sharing isn't like the solution. It's presented as one tool in a bigger toolkit, alongside things like retraining programs and supporting entrepreneurship.
Okay, so we've got a safety net idea and a way to reshape work. But then the source kind of leaps forward, doesn't it, into something much bigger, more ambitious. It uses this phrase, the full hallucination.
Yeah.
What is that? It sounds intense. What kind of transformation are we talking about?
It is intense. It's a provocative term, for sure. It implies something so far-reaching it might seem, well, unreal, or maybe a necessary dream, a break from how things are now.
So not just tweaking things anymore.
Not at all. This is pitched as a blueprint for a total systemic overhaul, what the source calls an economy based on necessity and humanity.
Necessity and humanity.
And the vision is holistic.
Yeah.
It tries to tackle climate change and AI disruption together. It lays out 6 interconnected areas.
6. All right, let's hear them.
Okay, first, replacing consumerism, shifting values away from just stuff, prioritizing experiences, well-being, essentials, promoting sustainable consumption, local
A
economies.
big cultural shift.
Huge.
Yeah.
Second, combining job sharing and that minimal basic income we discussed. Rethinking work for fair distribution, financial security, and personal growth time.
Okay, linking those two ideas.
Third, financial reforms and pay equity. Things like progressive taxation, so wealth is distributed more fairly, and narrowing that gap between executive pay and worker pay.
Right, that old chestnut.
Fourth, strong AI regulation and ethical deployment, meaning rules, frameworks for transparency, accountability, protecting rights, fairness in algorithms, audits, all that.
Essential, sure.
Fifth, banking and economic reforms, moving money away from just speculation towards sustainable development, local communities, real needs. Think community banks, investment in renewables, affordable housing, infrastructure.
Redirecting capital.
Exactly.
Right.
And finally, sixth, governance and international cooperation, basically saying governments and global bodies have a massive role here, setting rules, standards, fostering collaboration, holding everyone accountable for these big changes.
Wow. That is comprehensive. It paints this picture of, collective action, shared commitment to people and planet. Very optimistic.
Yes.
But let's get real for a second. Integrating AI, overhauling entire economies, changing fundamental human values. I mean, that sounds incredibly difficult, maybe even utopian. How does the source suggest we actually, do this without hitting a brick wall of resistance?
You're right to ask. The scale is enormous. And the source does acknowledge that, head on. It adds this crucial layer pointing straight at the big hurdles. Crowded societies and conservative mindsets that uphold capitalist ideologies.
Okay, so it names the challenges. Does it offer ways around them?
It does. It doesn't just state the problems. For crowded societies, it points to things like better urban planning, sustainable development, well-designed cities, efficient transport, green spaces, plus education and family planning programs.
Practical steps.
Yeah, and for the conservative mindsets and entrenched capitalist views, the argument isn't necessarily direct confrontation. It's about shifting societal values over time.
How?
Through education, awareness campaigns, basically showing the benefits of a fairer, more sustainable economy. And it really emphasizes bridging divides, dialogue, listening, finding common ground, building broad coalitions involving everyone, government, business, civil society, communities.
Bringing people together, essentially.
Yes. And maybe the most persuasive tactic it suggests is demonstrating success stories.
Yeah, show, don't just tell.
Exactly. Pointing to real places, communities, maybe even countries that have actually implemented parts of this vision and seen real benefits. Better quality of life, less inequality, that kind of thing can be really powerful and inspiring wider change.
Makes sense. Seeing is believing.
And underneath all that, it stresses the need for strong policy and institutional reforms from governments, the right regulations, incentives, tax structures to encourage sustainable practices and social responsibility.
So it's a multi-pronged approach to overcoming resistance.
It has to be.
Yeah.
The source concludes that, yeah, the challenges are huge, but not impossible. It takes collective effort, leadership, and a real commitment to prioritize, well, people and the planet over sticking to old ways.
This really has been a deep dive, hasn't it? We've gone from exploring those initial ideas like UBI and job sharing
Starting points.
all the way to this comprehensive blueprint for an economy built on necessity and humanity. The source really makes it clear. Navigating AI, climate change, it demands big systemic thinking.
Absolutely. And if you pull all those threads together, that emphasis on collective action, on putting well-being ahead of rigid ideologies, it's a really powerful message, I think.
Yeah.
It really highlights that even with massive hurdles like, crowded societies or deeply ingrained mindsets, real progress is possible. It just takes smart strategies and, well, a fundamental shift in how society operates.
So, what really stands out to you listening to all this, think about how the source pushes us to move beyond just individual actions towards these huge systemic changes, aiming for that equitable, sustainable, tech integrated future. And maybe consider this.